is my first and last romance.
Hey everybody, this is Jim from Jim's Holiest Coleus, and what we're listening to is a dear friend of mine from when I was younger, Johnny Messner Orchestra, and that's the greatest thing today with the cloud that you can look up, you can find music that you'd have a very difficult time finding, and my friend Johnny was a orchestra leader, a big band leader in the 20s, 30s, and the early 40s, right before the World War II. And he had a couple of albums, and it's very enjoyable to listen to it. He was a really nice guy, and his son, John Jr., I had the pleasure of working with for many years. He was a very modest musician himself, playing trombone with the NBC Orchestra when it was in New York before it moved to California, and also Louis Armstrong and so forth. So it's nice to listen to them. Okay, on to our Coleus. A couple of overwintered Coleus here. And as the days get longer now, we're beyond winter. Although it is 2 degrees here in New Jersey, it's been really cold. Eastern, from the Great Lakes states down, it's really cold. We're getting that Arctic blast here, so it's been really cold. Not as bad as Chicago, -40, -70, but it is still cold. Although it is sunny out today. It's cold out. So anyway, now that the days are getting longer every day by a few minutes, the Coleus are getting a little more light every day, and that helps out. And the sun in my bay window here, it really kicks these Coleus in. So I'm getting a lot of new growth here, a lot of nice color. As they slowly come out of dormancy and get back into the color. But the real growth, of course, happens in the spring and summer. But as you can see, there's some of the older, washed out, and these are some newer growth, some new growth. We got some really smaller new growth coming in. So, absolutely, you can overwinter Coleus. These are smaller pots. The larger pots you can too, but you're going to lose a lot. But here's a smaller arrangement that I've trimmed down. But it's an older arrangement in a smaller pot, But absolutely, this will come right back in spring. And it'll be a wonderful plant. Again, this is a Defiance Coleus. And here's a mixed Kong. I love the Kong. These are my favorites. There's a splash of that real bright pink that really grabs your attention, and there's some, you call them reds. This is a pinks, but it's just such a deeper pink with that splash of white. And as they grow together in the pots, they say the Coleus are very promiscuous plants, so they'll start, jumping over from one another, and you'll get different color variations all within the same plant as it gets older. So again, this is a nice little root. This is a little pot from last year. Take it out of a little holder. I have a nice little decorative cast iron, nice little zinc pot that I put it in. But as you see, it's a nice pot. It's a nice table arrangement, and they just keep it trimmed. Keep it from, again, they want to grow really tall, so I just keep trimming them down. This new growth up top here, trim it down as a seed. So even at this stage, there's a seed pod developing in. Let's try to get that. There we go. There's a seed pod developing. I don't need any more Kong seeds, so I just snip that off. And you do that too. If you don't want your plants to have seed stalks, because again that signals the decline of the plant, then snip it off. Cut these very tops. Cut the very tops. That's all seed pods coming in. So I just trim these down. Just keep them down because, you know, they'll start to lean over and so forth. So, all right, but beautiful Kong. Absolutely my favorite. There's another variation. You know, and you'll see them that you'll have some that are smaller. You'll have ones that are larger leaves. You have the jumbo Kong. And it all depends. You know, they grow. You know, you'll get a smaller leaf Kong and you know, medium, and then the big jumbo leaf Kong Coleus. Those are beautiful. So I have plenty of those on video. So, all right, on to my purpose of my video. Here are the here's some of my my germinations now. And what I do is I take them out of the greenhouse every once in a while, every couple days or so. I bring them out just to survey them, see which ones maybe are drying out a little bit. When you're growing a large amount of like this here, the trays, generally the ones on the perimeter will dry out first. So I try to keep them from getting to that level where they dry out, because your germinations need as much all the help they can. So I try to keep them from drying out. And I get them out, get them a little sun, not too much because they're germinations. You don't want to overstress them, but I give them some. It gives them some room to get some air. Just get them aired out, get some light in there. I'll try, you know, just for a few hours. And as you'll see, let me zoom in on a few. Now, when they first germinate, your first germinations, you're going to get these. This is, you know, this is your typical germination. These are your two little ears, we call them. We'll call them ears. And as the Coleus starts to develop and get older, let's get in one here that we can zoom in. There we go. There's your ears on we'll call it east and west. And then the north and south, that's your actual Coleus plant. There's your Coleus, the leaves, the plant, the actual leaves, the Coleus that will develop. So you have your original germination ears, east and west, north and south. There will be your regular Coleus, will be the leaves, and that'll develop. And as they get older, in a few more weeks, a lot of them, not you know, not every one, but most you'll be able to see some coloration, depending. Like the Coleus, pretty early on, start showing little blotches of color. Now, I have some videos on that if you look. If not, I'll post some more. But you can see most of them are getting the leaves, and these little petals, the little ears we'll call them, they'll stay on your Coleus well into June, July. I mean, they'll stay on it for as long as they stay on. They fall off naturally or just by moving them, but they stay on. So don't take them off. Just let them stay on until they fall off naturally. So, but they're, you know, they're essential for the photosynthesis of the plant, the growth stage early on. This gets all the energy required for these new leaves developing, these new Coleus leaves. Let's get some zoom in there. So you'll notice that, let's get a good shot here, that they look very tall. You know, they're very tall, skinny, lanky, kind of falling over, sort of like bean sprouts. Don't worry about that. That's natural. As they get older, they'll thicken up. They'll get stronger. And remember, when you sow your Coleus seeds, you're not burying them in the ground underneath the soil. They're on the surface. You're basically dropping them on the surface, and so it takes a little while for the roots to take hold. And then, you know, it'll stabilize the plant. And as it gets older and the root systems develop, then your Coleus will be a lot stronger, and they won't be hanging over so long. As the stem will be thicker. You know, so these are juvenile. These are very early. So don't get concerned that, these plants, they look terrible. They're flopping over. They're dying. They're not. Just be patient. As much as you want to have these beautiful plants growing and you see my videos with these beautiful Coleus, and when are my plants going to look like that? And they will. Just follow along here. do some research. Coleus are very easy to grow, so don't get impatient. Time goes by fast enough, so don't be impatient that you want to have your beautiful. Oh, my plants are never going to look like his, because they will. So just be patient, follow along, and again with these pods, and it depends on how many you grow. If you grow as many as I do, then you want to make sure you pay attention to them every few days. Don't leave them for a week and then come back and find out, oh my God, they're dried out and they're dying and so forth. I check them almost every single day, although I don't have to, but I do anyway, just out of habit. And I talk to them also. I have to make sure they know I love them. So, just kidding. No, actually I do. So, but yeah, make sure the ones on the edge, if you do grow a lot of them, or even if you grow just a few, they'll dry out even faster. Make sure they don't dry out. Get accustomed to feeling. Get an idea of what the pods feel like when they have water, and then you'll know. Like this is, it's still feel it. You'll see when they need water, and just give them water. And you don't have to drown them. Just if you're not sure, just give them a little water, and it's not going to kill them. Just don't soak them. You don't want them dripping wet, because Coleus don't like saturated soil, and especially these youngsters. So you can't go wrong. But again, I'm putting them out, getting a little bit of indirect sunlight for a little while, turn them around, take a look at some of them, admire them. And as time progresses, and I do this every day, all the time, and in a few months, again, a lot of the Coleus will start getting their coloration patterns in there, and you'll get to say, you'll get to know the plant by oh, I remember that one, yeah, and you'll see how it changes and so forth, and I take photos of them and so forth, and then you see how they develop. You don't realize it. So, but yeah, you can see they have a high germination rate. Again, I planted these on Christmas and a few days afterwards, and I think it was a month or so later, or 3 weeks later, after they started germinating, I found a number of pods that did not germinate, so I replanted some more Coleus seeds to get each pod. But again, you can still see there are some pods that have no germination, so I still can, at this rate, and you can still seed your pods now. It's not too late. I try to do it in December because it's sort of a Coleus is a short season. It's because it's an annual. People want them earlier. I'm not. I found if I have a lot of them in August. September, people aren't really interested in having them because, in their eyes, it's why should I waste the money on them? And so I try to get these things out, in early, June, May, and June. So, and also I have a couple of followers asking when is a good time to start to separate these and transplant them. At this stage, I'm in New Jersey. If you're in a weather, if you're in a weather zone like New Jersey, United States, New Jersey, and you planted them about the same time I did, and your plants are this size, then absolutely not. They're too young. They haven't established roots enough to transplant. Now, if you just have a few. Say you have 12 pods, and that's all you're growing for yourself, because you don't need hundreds of Coleus. You're planting them for your own property, and say you have 12 or 5 or 6 pods. Nobody says you cannot take, like for instance, this pod here has 2 Coleus in it. You can take that pod and take a pot, say, like this, without the plant say. You have your good quality Miracle Grow potting mixture, you fill it, you can take that pod, put a hole, make a hole, drop the pot in, gently take the netting off, but although you don't have to, and drop the pod into the soil and gently cover around. Just be careful of the Coleus, and then you can let your Coleus grow in the pot. So, and then other people will say, well, why go through all that agony? Why don't you just sow your seeds right in the pot? You can do that too. I've seen people germinate Coleus seeds on damp paper towels. They grow on anything almost. But for my purposes, I like to use these Jiffy pods. So you can grow them anyway. You can drop seeds right now. If you just have pots like this and you have good quality potting seed, potting mixture, you can drop your seeds in your pot and let them grow, and you have your Coleus pot. Then you can skip all of this if that's what you do. But for my purposes, what I do for my organization, I use the Jiffy pods. So that's all up to you. So as you see, there's some more. Is another winter. This is the Defiance, and you can see the difference. You see that new growth, how rich, deep that red is, and there's more washed out from last year. These are older. You know, they're dormant. They don't have that rich color. And once and I rotate around. That's why we have a lot of the new growth coming in, and that's just because I'm getting more and more sun every day at my bay window. So some beautiful color here. All right, so again, I'll keep these out on the table. Keep an eye on my cats. I always have to be careful with that. So I do not keep them unattended. I'll keep them out here for a little while, and then I put them back in my greenhouse. Also, again, I'll say this. I just mentioned in some other videos. When you're germinating these at first, obviously, you're going to keep them completely covered until they germinate, till your plants first start coming up. Once they germinate and you clearly have some growth going on, you want to pop them. You want to pop this top off on a corner. Just watch, don't damage your plants. Pop it off on the side. Just get some air in there, but it helps to retain some moisture. Otherwise, if you just leave these trays out, even the greenhouse, they're going to dry out so fast. So I keep these I keep these tops on them like that, and that helps keep the pods from drying out and keeps them warm also, because even in the house at night, you know, it still keeps them warm because they're still very tender. So as we continue to listen to my Uncle Johnny. There's a lot of younger ones. I dropped down some new seeds from when I dropped some secondary seeds down. You'll get seeds that fall down below that start growing, as long as they're as long as there's moisture there, they'll germinate. So that's what I say. Coleus are very easy to germinate and grow. So. All right, so hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate those of you who subscribe to me. I'm getting close to 1,000 members following. I really appreciate that. I know I have some people, some members, some followers that requested some seeds, and I mailed them out some seeds. One gentleman in Alaska. I sent some seeds to him. He has no Coleus up in Alaska, so I'm proud to have some Jim's Holiest of Coleus soon to be adorning the windows and yards of the greater Northwest Territory of the United States, southwest Alaska. So, okay, everybody, thanks for following. And I'll post some more videos, some Coleus videos. Some of you notice I go off the beaten track once in a while. I like to keep my channel active. I have a number of other interests, so if I see, I'll post something off the bean track. But soon we'll be back to pretty much all Coleus all the time. Okay, everybody, have a good day. Thanks for watching. See ya, everybody.